Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jonas Easton. We're here for the second part of our learning of Emunah and Bitachon. In part one, we began with the story of the Al Sheikh HaKodesh, and we also went through the seven principles of Emunah which inspire Bitachon in Hashem. In this part, we're going to discuss, well, how do we acquire this? How do we become Bala Bitachon? What do we do? How do we do it? But let's begin with another story. The Heilige Baal Shem Tov was once instructed by a Baskol from a voice from Hashem, from the Himmel, to make a journey to a certain village to learn about Bitachon and Hashem. He arrived there with his Talmidim, and he took up lodgings in an inn. The innkeeper was a elderly and dignified person, and he was very happy to extend a warm welcome to his guests. Now, this innkeeper, he didn't own the inn. He simply rented it from the local squire, the squire for that region. The next morning, as they were preparing for davening, a sheriff for the squire came into the inn, took out a huge stick, and he bang, 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 3 times on the table. And he left. The guests asked no questions, and they all looked at the innkeeper for some kind of explanation of what was going on. The innkeeper just sat there smiling, happy as ever, getting ready to daven Shachris. When davening was finished, again the same sheriff strode into the inn, took out his big stick, and bang, 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 3 times on the table. This time the Baal Shem Tov couldn't hold himself back, and he asked, "What is going on? What is this? And what is going on here?" And the innkeeper said, okay, with the same cheerful countenance, said, "Well, this is simply the warning that I'm obligated to pay the squire the annual rent for the inn. This sheriff comes in 3 times, and after the third time, if the squire doesn't get his money, he comes and takes me and my family and throws us in the dungeon. In the dungeon." Well, the Baal Shem Tov said, "Well, by your facial expressions and your behavior, it's clear that you have the necessary money. So why don't you just go and pay?" Baal Shem Tov says, "I'll wait. My Talmidim, we can wait for you to come back, and we'll sit and we'll have a proper seudah." The innkeeper said, "No, well, I, I don't have a single penny to pay for this annual rent, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give me everything I need at the right time. Let's sit, let's wash, let's have breakfast, and everything will be good. I still have 3 hours." They took the time over the meal, and again, throughout the whole seudah, the innkeeper was calm and smiling, and you could see complete faith in Hashem that everything is provided for. As they finished eating, in came the sheriff for the third visit, and he pulled out the big stick and he boom, 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 banged 3 times on the table. And the innkeeper again didn't move. Nah, didn't budge 1 inch. He benched. And the innkeeper stood up, went to the coat rack, took his best Shabbos coat, put on his gartel, and said, "Gentlemen, I am off to go pay the squire his annual rent." But again asked, "So you have the money? Do you have the money?" "Not a single penny," said the innkeeper. "Not a single penny," he said. "Don't have anything. But the Almighty HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give me what I need." He went on his way in his wagon, and the Baal Shem Tov and his Chassidim ran upstairs so they could look out the window and see what was going to transpire. And they saw the innkeeper going off on the shvil, on the path away from the inn, And on way far in the distance, they saw another wagon coming towards the innkeeper. And they saw the two wagons stop. You could see that there was some kind of an exchange between the innkeeper and the gentleman of the other wagon. And the other wagon, and both each wagon went weiter and past each other. And then they saw the wagon, the one that was coming opposite the innkeeper, stop, and it looked like he yelled back to the innkeeper. And they each went in reverse, and they met again. And this time again, they saw an exchange of words, and then they actually saw an exchange of money. The innkeeper went weiter, presumably to go pay the squire the annual rent. And when he returned, the Baal Shem Tov Chassidim rushed out to ask him, what happened? What happened? We saw the exchange, the wagons, you talked, and then when Weiter came back, what happened? And the story was like this, that this driver of the other wagon saw the innkeeper, and he made an offer to buy all the vodka for the next winter. We tried to agree on a price, but we didn't agree on a price, so we each went our own way. And this driver apparently had such a respect for the innkeeper. He figured, well, if the innkeeper's holding firm to that price, that must be a good price. So this driver agreed to the price of the innkeeper, and they settled, and they exchanged the money, and he prepaid for the whole winter. And what was that sum? Exactly the sum that this innkeeper needed to pay for the rent for the year. See, the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh said to his Talmidim, how mighty, how great is the power when we trust in Hashem. Miracles occur for us, which is the same principle we learned from the story of the Al-Sheikh HaKodesh. But what about both these stories? There's a very important limud, that Bitachon in Amunah are Lamaila M'Seichel. If we're trying to go with Seichel and moving the thumb, learning Gemara, and trying to apply our Seichel, putting our head into Amunah Bitachon, we won't have Amunah Bitachon. It's only when we forget about our seichel, we let go of our seichel, and we just trust in Hashem. That is bitachon. That is bitachon, and that's when Hashem makes the miracles for us, and that's when we really see it. Like this, the story about the Yidden by the Kriyas Yamsuf. Hashem said to go into the water, just go straight into the water. Only when Nachshon ben Aminadav did it, that's when Hashem split the sea. It's not, what, you're just going to walk into the water up to your neck? Seichel would say you're crazy, you're going to drown. But Nachshon ben Aminadav went without Seichel. He went with pure trust in Hashem. And so did the innkeeper, and so did the Pushet Yid sitting and learning Tehillim. He threw his Seichel out the window and just went with the Emunah Bitachon. That's Bitachon. So how do we acquire this? How do we get to this Madrega of this Pushet Yid? Well, first of all, we all, including myself, we all have to sit and learn more about Emunah Bitachon. There's so many Sforim out there. Of course, the great one to start with is Chavos HaLevavos Shar Bitachon. There's Emunah Bitachon from the Chazon Ish, and there's countless of Sforim. Rav Shalom Arush's book Garden of Emunah is a world bestseller. Even Goyim are buying the book like crazy and reading it. There's so many good books out there that we can read about Emunah. We need to read our books and strengthen Emunah. We also have to ask, where do we get this? If we're throwing out our seichel, so what good is the learning? Well, we have to learn in order to understand the principles. But then we have to in order to apply it, to internalize it, to bring it as part of our avoda, that's only through Hashem. That's only by davening to Hashem and saying, Hashem, please help me. Please Hashem, help me to strengthen my Emunah Bitachon. Please Hashem, help me know that you love me. Help me. I have to know that you love me. When I know that you love me, Hashem, I can trust you. I can trust you. We have to ask Hashem to bring it to us. We have to ask Hashem to help us bring it into our hearts, bring it into our everyday avoda. And through this, in Mitzvah Shem, we can all grow in our Amun Bitachon. We can be Zocha to see such miracles. And when we see the miracles, we have to write them down, remember them. And we'll see more and more. But we have to, in Mitzvah Shem, strengthen our learning in Amun Bitachon, strengthen our tefillas, asking Hashem to bring us the Amun Bitachon. We should be Zocha in Mitzvah Shem to grow Yeshias and Nisim and Iflos in our days. And in Mitzvah Shem, the building of the base of Mikdash Shlishi, B'mhera B'enu.